Greetings, top of the table. I just want to start by saying it's such an honor to be here today. I am very, very, very happy to be before you and to be participating in this virtual conference. I want to start by thanking Rick Stanzione. He's an advisor out of Utah, USA. And Rick encouraged me to come to the conference 5 years before I actually showed up. And I'm so glad that I showed up. So Rick, again, thank you for being persistent and inviting me to what you considered the best conference you'd ever attended. And I'm in agreement. I agree. It is one of the finest conferences I've ever participated in. And this virtual conference makes my 8th conference that I've participated in. So I just want to thank everybody at the $1 Million Roundtable for all they do. And just know that this information that we get is very essential to our careers, and it has helped me to hire, retain, and continue to grow in the business. Let me just start. If you were not an advisor, would you hire yourself? Yes, if you were not an advisor, would you hire yourself? And what criteria would you base hiring you on? Would it be your education level? Would it be the continued education level that you continue to improve and learn more? Would it be your personality? Would it be the characteristics of leadership that you exhibit? What would cause you to hire you? Now, if the answer to that is yes, you would hire yourself, because I was surprised. I asked several advisors would they hire themselves, and they said no. And I said, wow, why not? And they said they didn't meet their account minimum. They didn't meet their account minimum, but they want to cater to people that do. And there were other advisors who said things like, I wouldn't make a good client. So then it's time to take a self-perspective to see, what are you sending out and what are you attracting back to you? If you were not an advisor, would you hire yourself? Who's the go-to guy in your town, city, or country that everybody goes to when it's time to hire an advisor? If the answer is not you, but somebody else, then what's someone else doing that you're not doing? Does the local TV station's manager even know you exist? Does the local radio station manager know you exist? Does a local blogger know you exist? What are you doing to separate yourself from the pack? Are you doing anything to separate yourself? Or you simply feel like, because I've got this knowledge and this understanding, that's simply enough. They will find me because I'm a magnet to draw people to me. Why not increase the flow of that magnetivity so that you can draw more people to you? And that's what this talk is all about. What are you doing to make sure that people know who you are? Now let's go to the second phase. Whose client is it anyway? Whose client is it? When you set up a relationship with a client, you meet them for the very first time. I can remember a young man came to my office and he said, I'm looking for someone that can be my advisor, my friend, my golf partner, someone I can go to a restaurant and share a fine dinner with. And he himself was a chef. And Carl. And I remember thinking, can I satisfy all those things that Carl wants me to satisfy? I had just started playing golf. We were around the same age. We had gotten married around the same time. We had a daughter around the same age. There's a lot of things that we had in common, but could I serve his needs? And time proved that we could. We continue to remain friends some 20 years, 25 years later. Our golf games are very similar, and I have a great appreciation for food because of Carl as a chef. So we have to figure out whose client is it. So if Carl needed assistance with an estate plan, who better to help Carl with the estate plan than his advisor, who's known him for all these years? If Carl wants to, and he went into business, became a chef, and started his own catering service. If Carl needed an attorney to draft some papers to make sure everything was legal, who better to introduce Carl to the attorney? And as as we grew as men, and I dealt with whatever health concerns I had, and Carl dealt with his health concerns, who better to make sure that the health of his life is being taken care of? And that's the question that you as an advisor can ask your clients. What are you doing to make sure you protect both your wealth and your health? Because they go hand in hand. Whose client is it anyway? If you're going to spend the next 25 years in a relationship with a client like I did Carl, wouldn't it be nice to know that you've helped them along each aspect of it? And in 25 years, our daughters have prepared for college, they've taken SAT, all these things that are needed to get them ready for what's to come. And that's how you have to approach whose client is it anyway. For a service that's going to be one and done, wouldn't it be nice for you to introduce that service and make sure that that client gets taken care of to your standard of excellence? That's what I mean when I ask the question, whose client is it anyway? Work-life balance. One of the key things to our jobs is, when do we shut it off? When do we turn off being an advisor? Do you ever get to stop being an advisor? And in many instances, we don't ever turn it off. But does your wife need you to be advising her sometime in the middle of the evening? Think about that. It's up to you to decide whether your wife needs your help, or your husband needs your help, or your friend needs your help. But it's up to you to know when to turn on the advisor hat and when to turn it off. That's called work-life balance. You want to make sure that you have a good work-life balance. And that also means that you're taking care of yourself. Your brain needs a downtime. It needs to recover. Constantly thinking about business over and over. And then when you are down, for whatever reason, who speaks power back into your life? Who lifts you up when you need to be lifted up? Because as an independent advisor, many of you who are independent, and some of you work for companies, but as advisors, someone has to pump you up. Who's there to pump you up when you need to be pumped up? Because it's all a part of the success plan. It's a part of what I call the wealth code. The wealth code is not becoming an overnight success. Many people think the wealth code is like, oh, I hit wealthy, now I'm there. No, it's what did you do, as we said in the country, the southern part of Mississippi, what did you do to till the soil, to get ready to plant the seeds that were going to yield a harvest later on? Because if you didn't till the soil, you may be dropping seed on hard ground. If you didn't till it and put seeds in it, all it's going to grow back is grass. And it's going to be bigger than it was before. But if you tilled the soil, you planted the seed, and you nurtured it for a harvest, then you're going to get a harvest that overflows. Now I want to talk a little bit about selling. We're all considered salespeople, but many of us don't consider what we do as selling in a traditional format. We consider ourselves educators. We're educating our clients about the various products that can help achieve their goals. That's what we're doing. We're learning how to help them to help themselves. That's more asking questions and listening than it is talking and telling and directing. It has more to do with your ability to listen. As an educator, you ask an educated question, like, if you wasn't an advisor, would you hire yourself? Those are educated questions that you ask yourself by asking a client, what are you looking for in an advisor? Like I did Carl. That tells you what they're looking for in you. That is not something that you can tell them. All you can tell them is, I went to college, I got this degree, I got that education, I got that license, this license. That's you talking about yourself. It has nothing to do with what they're looking for necessarily. They're looking for someone who can relate to who they are. We're all looking for someone who can relate to who we are. I had an athlete, a pro football player, NFL, and it emphasizes the whole purpose of visualization. Many of us wonder about visualization, but his story, Mr. Lewis, captures visualization. Mr. Lewis' family moved from a big city to a bigger city. He found that the education he had in junior high wasn't equipping him. Well, he didn't get equipped to compete in high school academically. So he fell behind. But he had dreams of playing pro football. And he needed to get into college to play pro football. So he struggled with his grades and had a breakout year his junior year. I mean, a phenomenal year, tackles and just everything worked out perfect. And then his senior year came. And the first day of his senior year, the first game, he was ready. He had practiced well. And that first game, he stuck his leg out to make a turn, and his teammate ran into his leg and broke it. And he didn't get to have a senior year. So now he wants to have a pro football career, but not a single college gave him a phone call. So he looked and did some research, went to the library and looked up colleges in the area, and he went to a local college, walked into a local junior college because of his grades, and he walked to the coach's office and he told the coach, he said, "I'm Alex Lewis, I'm here to play pro football. I'm here to play football for the college." And the coach looked at him and said, "Get out of my office, son. We're not taking walk-ons." But he had enrolled in school and he had to figure it out. So the first day of football practice, he showed up. And he's like, "Coach, I'm Alex, and son, we already have our starting team. But I'll let you stay on the team because football players tend to need somebody to hit to tackle." The coach let him stay on the team the freshman year, changed his position to one he was not familiar with. But his visualization of playing NFL was still in his head. So then Mr. Lewis had a breakout sophomore year, which was a senior year for a 2-year college. But in the final game in the district championships, they had to win to move on to the junior college national championship. They lost that game. But he had a breakout performance, but they lost the game. So he's standing on the sideline after the game and he's crying and tears are coming out of his eyes. And his coach walked up to him and he said, "Alex, I need to talk to you about something." He said, "Not now, coach, because I need a moment, coach." And he said, "There's a football coach here from the University of Wisconsin wants to give you a full scholarship, and he's so busy in his tears that he can't hear him and he's still crying." And he said, "What do you say, coach?" And he said, "There's a football coach here from the University of Wisconsin who wants to give you a full scholarship to come to Wisconsin." That's a visualization being realized. But he still had to get to the University of Wisconsin, have 2 good years of football to get drafted. And he got drafted by the Detroit Lions. What if he'd have gave up in high school? His senior year with a broke leg. What if he'd have gave up when he walked in the coach's office his freshman year at the community college? And what if he would not have played to his ability and gotten a scholarship at the University of Wisconsin? There's life after football, because Alex not only visualized playing NFL, he visualized a life afterwards. And that's what I'm here to talk to you about. You've got to visualize life that you want to live and how you're going to live that life. Because visualization, you have to teach your clients how to visualize wealthy dreams, wealthy aspirations, wealthy thoughts. And wealth is our legacy. Pass it on. You have to emphasize that wealth is our legacy. Pass it on. And you and I know the best way to do that, the cheapest way created, is through life insurance. It's not as sexy as selling stocks and bonds and mutual funds, but it is another way to build wealth. And we don't have to choose. We actually get the chance to do both. We can put them in a track that will lead them to wealth through stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. And while they're there just as an insurance to make sure they achieve their goal, there's life insurance. So you have to make sure that you prepare your clients for that which is to come. What is your life's biggest expense? Most of you will say a mortgage. Some of you will say a car. But for many of us, our life's biggest expense was our children. But we managed to get through 18 years of taking care of our children and sending them to college without feeling like it was a burden, without feeling like it was the biggest expense. And our default is usually, Oh, it was my mortgage until we think about it. Make sure that you're preparing yourself and your family for everything that it takes to navigate through life. And then once you realize that you're preparing them for everything it takes to navigate through life, and then to prepare your family, you have to prepare yourself. You have to read, learn, take classes, do whatever it takes to continue to empower yourself. What brings clients to us won't keep them with us if they can't see that you're growing also. They need to be able to see the growth in you to stay with you. Otherwise, it's a revolving chair. It's musical chairs. They move to you from somebody else to you. One of the first questions I ask my clients is, what was it about your advisor that caused you to come and sit down with me? What is it that I need to do to make sure that in a few years you're not leaving me in search of another advisor? And most people can't answer that question. They don't know why. They just felt something. And what I'm saying to you is, I think that advisors stopped growing. And they were looking for someone who could lead them into the next step of their life. Have you proven to your clients that you're that person, that you're the one that can lead them into the next step of their life? Let's make our clients winners. Let's make our clients winners. How do we do that? We do that by sticking to what's important. Charles Darwin said that it's not the strongest or the smartest species that survive, it's the most adaptable. Are you adapting to the changing times that we live in? Are you causing your clients to adapt to the changing times that we live in? Because that's what we have to focus on, is how do we adapt and prepare ourselves for the biggest win of our life, success at wealth management, at wealth planning. Let me tell you a little bit about how we came to be a wealth manager. It was over 20 years ago when the biggest names were asset management, and many companies just had a name, but there was no consistency. And I knew for a fact I wanted to do holistic planning. And I knew what I wanted to do, but there was no model out there that had all that in it already. So I had to pull together the various models. And I always joke and tell my friends that I didn't come to wealth management came to me. I took my insurance license first back in 1980. And then I later got my securities license in 1986. And I continued to educate myself and study and learn more and more. And the next thing I knew, this thing called wealth management showed up. And wealth management, a wealth manager was versed in all these different things. Schools of financial planning started teaching these classes, all these things that were happening. And I was like, this is perfect for me because I'm one of those people who retains information, who retains knowledge, and tries to learn as much as I can to help my clients. So as I learned and I used all the skills that I was exposed to, like Mr. Lewis, I was a runner in college, and my goal was to make an Olympic team. So I would go to classes on visualization. They'd have us close our eyes and see ourselves in a dark spot. But we saw a little flicker at the end of the tunnel. And that flicker was to get us ready for what to come. In the words of the great basketball player, Michael Jordan, he said this, and I quote, "Talent wins games, but intelligence wins championships." What I'm asking you to do today is to continue to nurture your mind, prepare yourself to be ready to be whatever your clients' needs are. And you want to be able to make favorable introductions to your clients of attorneys, accountants, doctors if necessary, and be able to do the research to make sure your clients have all they need. Let's make our clients winners. I'm Ellis Adele, and I thank you for today. Enjoy.